We're inside of the Hall of Fame bar here at Huntington Park, and this is where you will find pictures of more than 4,700 men who have worn the Columbus uniform at one point in their career. And this is Joe Santry, and Joe is pretty much the historian for the Clippers, and also no one in town probably knows baseball as well as Joe does. And Joe, one thing I found interesting is that Columbus was not always a minor league city. It was once a major league town.
Back in the 1880s, the Columbus Buckeyes were in the American Association, which was a major league, and we got sort of kicked out because we played baseball on Sunday.
Along with Cincinnati.
Yes, and Cincinnati repented and got back in.
Some names of some of these players, and there are some big names in baseball. Throw out some names for me.
Well, it played for Columbus. Derek Jeter was here as a young man. Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, all the great Yankees, that core of those great Yankees teams. You go back to the 60s when we were the Jets, we had Willie Stargell, players like that who became the great Pirates team. And you can go all the way back to the Redbirds with Hall of Famers Enos Slaughter. I mean, we've had them for the last 125 years. In the 1800s, we evolved from the Buckeyes, and we had a few other names like the Salons, and we actually were the Reds for 1 year. Our first pennant winner were the Columbus Reds. But then we became the Columbus Senators. So from 31 to 54, we became the Redbirds. And from 55 through 70, we were the Jets. And then for 6 years, we didn't have baseball at all. And then the Clippers came in 1977.
Of all the players that have ever worn a uniform for Columbus, this is the guy I find the most interesting.
Rube Waddell was a legend.
There was probably no man to ever play for Columbus who was more peculiar than George Rube Waddell. He was a Columbus Senator in 1899, and there possibly was no better pitcher ever.
Back when people used to strike out 100 guys a year, he was striking out 300.
But it wasn't his record, some that still stand, that made him famous. He was somewhat of a man-child who would be late for games because he was playing jacks with the neighborhood kids. He could be put into a trance and his game thrown when fans from opposing teams or opposing coaches would show him puppies or shiny toys.
Jennings would bring out these little wind-up monkeys that clapped the cymbals or flipped around, and he'd go, Rube, check this out. And in the coach's box, he would have these little wind-up toys.
And a horse-drawn fire truck would send him over the edge.
Major league game, and there's a fire. Fire truck goes beyond this, outfield fence. He drops the ball in his uniform, runs out, jumps over the outfield fence, and chases the fire trucks. This is in the middle of a major league game. He used to rustle alligators in between games. He'd do cannonballs out his third floor window into swimming pools. Rube came to Columbus in 1899, and he talked our manager, Tommy Loftus, into letting him pitch opening day. They were leaving for the train in Detroit, waiting at the train station where the convention center is. Nobody can find Rube. So finally Loftus says, guys, spread out, cover the city, find him. Check every bar, every hotel, everything. They finally found him about a half hour later, back in the old days, on the State House grounds. They had these huge oak trees. And Rube is up in the top of one of them trying to coax an albino squirrel out of its nest.
You're quite a drinker.
That wasn't unusual for the time. Yeah, he could put it away with the best of them. Rube beat the great Cy Young 1-0. And in Philadelphia, there was at least a half dozen to a dozen bars that had a baseball autographed from Rube that said this was the ball of the famous game against Cy Young. And he'd go in and trade it for drinks. I'm sure he just picked it out of the ball bag, signed his name. You want the ball from the famous game?
Rube Waddell died on April 1st, April Fool's Day, 1914. He had contracted pneumonia while trying to help some people in Kentucky during a flood. He was 37 years old. That's going to do it for us. If you have a story you would like to see here on NBC4 Stories, please let us know. You can contact us at 1-800-232-9264 or email us at stories@nbc4i.com. We'll see you back here soon.
Ain't nothing like an outlaw game on a summer night. Yeah, you watch them hit and run around, slide and jump.